Hello and welcome. Campbell here, back with Lorenzo for another chat. Hope you're having a fantastic day, morning, evening, wherever you are on the realm. And our freedom is not free. How you going, Lorenzo?
I'm doing very, very good. I mean, yeah, it's been a big challenge even in my life to see the difference between free and freedom, and it didn't really hit me until, I've been spending at least 3 decades consciously trying to be free. And whoa, even yesterday and today and the day before, the cost, the high cost of change, as you say, it's just enormous, but you can't buy it, right? It has nothing to do with money, this cost of change, but you have to really decide what it is you're willing to give up to clear the way, let's say, for something new to be born in your life.
Change is an interesting word, isn't it? Change in your pocket. You got to give it up if you want change.
Yeah.
This is the thing. People want things to be free, but whatever is free, we don't treasure, right? We don't give it any value, clearly, because it's free. I mean, we have to pay for everything, but we're not talking about money, right? We're not talking about currency. Like you have to pay. You have to go through, the rigors and the growth to actually have change. It's, we know that people who sit around and just say, give me everything I want for free, I mean, that they never get anything, they never grow, and they never change who they are. So, what are you prepared to pay to be free? And that's a good paradox.
It really is because, if I'm sitting here and you can imagine kind of looking out a window where you've covered the window with pictures on what's possible in your life and what you want and what you don't want, and everything looking back maybe to when you were a little person, a little boy or a little girl. And if you want to look out for change, you want to look out for a new picture, you want to look out for a new day or a new vision, you literally have to change the collage or the images. You have to take down what you thought was possible. You have to take, like, if all your time, as an example, is
Mm.
taken up by your job and your family, nothing wrong with that. But if all your time is taken up by your job and your family and your indulgences, whatever they are, if you drink, smoke, watch too much TV or movies, you have to change some of that if you want to change your life. You can't just sit around asking the world to change you, to pick you up off your couch and move you to a new couch. You literally have to start changing the images, changing your imagination, changing your schedule, if you like, how you spend your time, so that you can find for yourself the space to make something new.
Well, totally, totally, man. Like we always have to, yeah. For things to change, things have to change, right? There it is again. And just a quick hello to everyone in chat. Thanks for being here. Hello, Hippie again. Always there doing great work for us. This is the thing. I mean, what are you prepared to give up? Everyone wants change. Everyone says they want change. I want this. I want that. But what are you prepared to give up to get what you want? Most people aren't that prepared. They want to sit on their couch, as we saw in 2020, right? Sit on their couch, watch Netflix, and wait for the white hats to come and change everything for them. Good plan unless no one shows up. And this is the thing, we're always here. We've always shown up. So if you want change, what are you prepared to give up? What are you prepared to change for change?
I mean, because
It's yeah.
like you see, the thumb behind us, find your real self, and you can't be pithy about it. I feel most people, including myself, miss the change they need because they look for too many grandiose mythical changes. Like I saw here someone, I will change my lonely heart so that I might find real love. I mean, it sounds nice, but that doesn't really, I'm not trying to be mean, but it doesn't mean anything, really. I mean, like, why do you have a lonely heart? What is love? What do you mean by lonely? What do you mean by heart? What do you mean by love? That's how you find your real self. When maybe you used to think love was a lady if you were a man, or love was a man if you were a lady, or love was sexual gratification, or love was company. And loneliness is also a very interesting word in that it probably means different things to different people. I mean, the silence of lonely has helped me quite a bit over my life. So what I really mean in all of this is, if you need to put down the simple ideas of what you think about yourself and why you have a lonely heart, let's say, why you haven't found real love according to what you feel real love is, this is where you see what you need to give up. if you want to be, free to experience love, or you want to have the freedom of not being lonely, let's say, and the cost is whatever you have decided was true, but hasn't worked for you, right? And so no one can tell you it like that, so that you can figure out what is real about yourself. Campbell's going to talk about real, the movie as well, and what is real in relation to what it is you actually want to experience in relation to what you're not experiencing.
And just on that, what is the change? If you do want more love, then shouldn't the change be to have more love in your heart? Isn't that the change? Because saying that I will change my loneliness, you're still focusing on the loneliness, right? Like, instead of becoming holy, right, full of holes, bored with the holes drilled into you, become whole, holy, WHOL, become full. And yeah, I mean, what is real? What is real? Is outside real, or is the film real, right? This is the thing that and it's with TV, and we've seen a lot of it, especially over the last few weeks and months with what's going on in the political spectrum, is people are believing the real, the REEL, what's shown to them on the idiot box and the TV, which they of course try and tell us now is a smart TV. But I think that it's quite evident that smart TVs make stupid people. But what is real to you? Is it what you're shown from the outside world, the narrative that they're pushing, or is it what is real is what you can interact with? REAL, real. Like, be real, be REAL. Don't be, someone who is imitating what's on the real, the REEL. And this is a big thing in our society, right? They are literally trying to make their reels, their film reels, their movie reels. And of course, this is, it's just an analogy. We don't have reels anymore. It's all video. But this is a thing. Like, what is real to you? Is it what you go out and interact with, or is it what people tell you is real? Because this is the crux of it. You can't be really you if you're believing the story that the outside world's telling you.
It's all about experience. Like, what someone tells you is just what someone tells you. You can't really believe really. You can't believe anything that gets passed along as real, especially from a TV or a cell phone or a computer. I mean, even what we're sharing can't be real until you make it real for yourself. Campbell and I are simply sharing words and our own experiences to how, we became real for ourselves. And that is something that each of us must experience for themselves. I mean, I just want to make one point, because I'm always, sharing some of the challenges. Is Ava about Lonely Hearts made a really good, authentic point here, in that, for her, lonely means a heavy heart, right? And she wants to work through the heaviness to be light again. I mean, that's a beautiful first step, because it's being honest. She's looking at herself. I'm guessing Ava's a lady, AVA. It could be a man. But if you see that you have a heavy heart, and I had the heaviest heart, like heavy like stone, and then you find out for yourself why your heart is heavy, maybe you've made bad choices, maybe you've been mean to people, maybe you've been mean to yourself. We can each, find, I'm sure, many reasons why our heart has felt heavy in our life. And if you change that, meaning you understand for yourself why you made it heavy, or what you did and why you were wrong, because it led to a heavy heart, that could help you be, as Ava says, light again. And it's an amazing first step towards growing into your real self, and seeing the personal responsibility therein for figuring that out.
Yes, if you want to be lighter, shine your light more. Like find that light inside of you, and it will lighten the load, right? It will lighten your heart. And this is the whole thing with everything in life, but especially with relationships, is it's not that we're out there finding and searching for the perfect partner. It's that we're becoming the person that our perfect partner will be attracted to. So everything's kind of flipped and upside down. Like if we want more, then it's us that need to become more. And of course, the outside world will tell us that no, it's about getting the sports car. It's about looking right. It's about, I don't know, going on Tinder and all this kind of stuff. But but we actually attract everything to us by who we become. It's frequency, the ways that I look at it. So you've got to become the person that is worthy of what you want. You know, this is why when we decide that we want more in life, the universe tends to throw curveballs at us, right? Challenges for us to go, you know, to get through. It's like, well, are you serious? Do you really want to change? Well, here's this. And most people are just like, oh, it's too hard. It's too hard. But
Yeah.
we have to change to get the change that we want.
I mean, I see a couple of interesting comments which could very well come along, the courses Cambell and I have done and what we're doing and the work we've done. As I see, it says you gave your heart, Ava, to someone who didn't care about me. You thought you knew him, but you didn't. I mean, that's an interesting perspective, but you could turn that around, as Cambell said, and maybe throughout that you thought or you think you know yourself, but you don't. I mean, if you're fooled by the outside, it probably means you're fooled by the inside, and that's how we get fooled. I mean, I've been there, so I'm not saying it's just you. It's like I thought I knew people, and I've had horrible relationships, and then I had to see that I didn't really know myself while I was blaming them for for abandoning me or being mean to me or not understanding me. All those things that young people can do or young people can blame when they're in their first deeper relationships. Over the years, I've had to see how I was, well, let's see, being honest, lying to myself, and I didn't understand myself, and I didn't know myself. And, for me, my purpose was to understand myself. And through that, the relationships changed, my destiny changed, and everything else. But first, I had to see who I was in relation to who I wanted to be in relation to who I wasn't. So that the cost of my change was giving up everything I thought was real for myself.
Mm. Yeah, to me, it's a journey of bringing the inside out, not the other way around. So with relationships, it's why do you want a certain person? Is it because you feel that they're going to fill the void within you? Because that will never happen. Because as soon as you're in that state of mind, you're saying, I have a void within me. I'm not, enough, right? I'm less than I should be. And that's why we need to start on the inside and work on that, find out who we really are. Like, delve deep, right? Life is an inside job. The way out is in. So that's why it's becoming, more of who we are will get you more of what you want. And to me, a relationship is two whole people coming together to live a life together. It's not two people coming together to try and fill each other's voids, in a non-rude way, trying to fill each other's holes, right? And this is the thing, and it's the same with everything, with wealth, like, if you're having problems with money and you've never got enough and you're always a bit short, well, it's time to have a look at your self-worth and then bring that out rather than sort of running around and trying to move physical objects around to make money on the outside. And we all know the story, right? There's a lot of people who do make money, but they lose their soul in the process. They end up lonely old people who no one likes. So it's a journey of, do you want to be wealthy or do you want to be rich, as far as money goes? And that there's different ways to go about it. And the same with relationships. There's the big buff guy who's got the car and the gym body and gets all the girls. But I mean, this is the thing. If he gets all the girls, doesn't that also mean that he loses all the girls? Otherwise, there'd just be one girl, right? So these people are also the loneliest people out there. And we're told to look up to them. And, oh, my God, look at him. He's doing this. Or, obviously different connotations if you're a woman and you're getting all the guys. That's just society. But this is the thing. It's all to do with bringing what's inside of you out. And that will give you freedom. But it's not free. You've got to pay with work on yourself. You've got to pay with introspection. You've got to pay with being willing to be wrong. And this is another good point, right? The people who are right a lot of the time, that they're the ones that are willing to be wrong all of the time. Because unless you're wrong, you can never learn and go forward. It's great to be wrong. It's awesome. It means you learn something, right? If you're always right, you're never going to learn anything. You're never going to grow.
Yeah. And right or wrong, again, there's no one that can tell you, in my opinion, what's right or wrong for you. This is all in relation to what you feel is right or wrong and how your life is proceeding for yourself. Are you having the right experiences? Are you having the wrong experiences? Are you having the right loving experiences? Are you having the wrong loving experiences? Are you having the right abundant or rich experiences? Are you having the wrong, abundant and rich experiences? And those are going to be different for different people. They could be different for everyone. If you look back, I find, and you study your own self and you study your own life, and you go back to your imagination and you go back to who you were and you go back to what you wanted to experience when you were a little person, and how that hasn't come through yet in your life, and how that may grow into something more for you by understanding how you've missed it. Whether you're 15 or 55 or 85, if you figure out what you wanted from and for your life when you were 5, and I feel you can do it because I've done it, that may allow you to see what's not how you wanted your life when you were small, and how you wanted your life to play out now that you're big. And usually therein lies the challenges and the sadness and the expectations and all of the other lack of light and love and all those other ways we could see things for ourselves to grow into what we would like to do. Someone sent me an email even this morning that said, how can you understand all the problems you've caused and all the emotional challenges you had when you were little? It's too hard, you can't do it. And I said, of course you can do it. You were there, you were alive, somewhere in your experience, somewhere in your memory, even if you were only 1 day old, somewhere inside of you, all of your experiences have made you. They're all tied up inside you, or they're all like a tree, different rings in your life. And you can, if you choose to go through the experience, find out how you've been wrong as you've grown. And that's the change you have to give up, to go back and to go back and to go back, and to especially look at your most painful experiences, whatever they are. The more pain you can experience that you lived through. I don't mean, live through it again and accept it and, endlessly, gnaw on a sore tooth. But if you understand the painful experiences and you clean them, recapitulate them, probably your imagination can grow and you can get closer to who your real self is.
Yeah. It's like he's going out looking for it and being bitter when you don't find it. Yeah. Be better. Don't be bitter. And there was another comment I was just going to comment on. How is other people reflecting your shadow? I mean, when we meet people that we like them because we see in them values that we either like in ourselves or we want to have in ourselves. When we don't like people, it's because we see aspects of them that we don't like about ourselves. So the world is a mirror. Learn from that. And I mean, that's a good thing, right? It shows you which direction to go, because, a lot of the time people don't know exactly what they want, but most of the time they know what they don't want. And that's the same thing, right? So if you know what you don't want, you kind of know what you want. But I mean, what it comes down to, there's lots of things about kindness, about being the love, being good. The way I look at good and evil, I mean, good is God, right? With an extra O. Evil is the devil without the D. I mean, this is what God and the devil is. It's good and evil. So to be close to God, it's just to be good, a good person, to be closer to good. And alone's an interesting word, right? If you add an L there, what do we get? All one. So when you're alone, you're with the one, you're with everything, because that's what you are and that's what's inside you. So don't be alone as in, oh my God, there's no one around me, poor little me kind of thing. Be all one, like work on being all one instead of being alone. And then you'll discover that you're part of everything. You're the creator of everything. And work on being all one with yourself and whatever you want to term it, right? The universe, God, spirit, whatever it is. Be one with that. I think that's a much better way than saying I'm alone, because when we're alone, we tend to go into our head a lot more, right? We tend to contemplate things a lot more. And that's the road to being all one. It's not the road to being alone. Alone, as far as we're told, the spell of alone is separation, but separation doesn't exist. It's not there. It's just a concept that's been put into our minds. It's another spell, and this is why the first thing they teach us at school is spelling, because they want to define what these words mean, because when they do that they sort of control, what we think and how we see the world, and they can bring in these concepts like separateness, but separateness does not exist, and it never has. We're all one.
That's why I feel it's important to go back to when you were very small, before you started your schooling. You can understand how you thought about things when you were 2 or 3 or 4, and why school was a nightmare. Maybe for me, I'm talking about myself, and why I wanted to run away as much as possible is I got a chance to see that they were trying to inculcate or cover me up with ideas about life, spelling, sentences, the time, the clock, the homework, the people I didn't like, the sit down and pay attention, like all those things that freaked me out, made me crazy when I was small, because that wasn't what my body wanted to do. It wanted to move, it wanted to dance, it wanted to do art, it wanted to run, it wanted to be out in the sun, all of those things that made me hate everything around me, and that grew up with me. So when I was 5, I hated everything. Then when I was 55, me too, I hated everything, but I didn't really hate everything. I hated what was taught to me, right? I don't hate people. I don't hate society so much. I don't really hate anything anymore. I just hated everything I brought into myself that I felt at the time was not allowing me to be free. And so really I was hating myself. So that's what I mean. Someone asked me how a narcissist fit into this. And I think a narcissist, we're all narcissists in some ways. All it means is you're not empathic and you're thinking about yourself maybe, and you don't really care about the outside world. So it doesn't really matter how a narcissist fits into this, unless you're the narcissist you're talking about trying to fit into this. Because, again, finding your real self is your relationship with yourself. And Cambell had a good point. Sit alone for a week, see what comes up. See how you freak out. See how you're bored or lonely or crazy or whatever, and see what is influencing you at the time. And it will only be you, because you're sitting with yourself, and maybe that will give you some insights in how to change whatever it is that you're asking to change for yourself.
And someone mentioned like a loan, as in like a bank loan. Well, again, that's the spell, right? That's a loan is something you get when you don't have enough for yourself. Right? You have to get more from the outside. But again, that's a spell, like that there's separateness, that you don't have enough inside you already. And yeah, cooling thin. What spell is that? Broadcasting. It's all spells. It's all spells. And this goes back to the real, right? The real world is in the camera, or the real world. Magicians, magic wands used to be made from the wood of the holly tree, from the holly wood, right? Hollywood. And of course, you use a little wand to cast spells. Well, what do you call a group of actors that are making a film? A cast, right? When they want to reach the masses, they do a broadcast. I mean, it's all spells, guys, and they actually tell us that this is what they're doing. They're changing the spelling to create spells. And so this is, you can follow that reel, the REEL, that comes from the Hollywood, and they will lead you down the garden path. They will change the spelling and change all the narrative and tell you that it's true. But it's not. The real world is not REEL, it's REAL, right? It's something you can interact with. It's yourself. The outside world is just yourself projected outside. Like I literally have this picture of, we walk through life and we're literally got like a projector on our head. And as we walk, we're projecting what we're walking into and interacting with. It's all us. I mean, you can try changing the outside world and moving bits and pieces around to change things on the inside world. But in my experience, that doesn't work. And I've actually never met anyone who that's worked for. Everyone who I know who has changed their life, their reality, their experience, has done it from the inside out. Because it's a torus, right? It's a torus. Our inside goes out. That gives us what we can interact with. We learn from that, and it goes back in, and we make decisions, and then we broadcast something out again, right? Broadcast. We can use the spells. We can change the spells, but only if we know their spells.
And understanding how you fell a victim, let's say, by your own hand. So I don't mean that you're a victim, but how you victimized yourself when you accepted anything these actors told you, like I did, whether it was TV, whether it was your teachers who may be acting teachers, because mostly in schools, they teach you what they were told to teach. I've came across a few teachers that got in trouble because they went off the
Yeah.
curriculum, right? They went off the book. They decided to share something that wasn't allowed to be shared, right? So, and who's writing these books? Who's deciding what your teachers are teaching you? Who's deciding what's on TV,
Rockefellers.
right? Who's deciding, what's in those magazines or the newspapers? Who's deciding? I mean, all the way back. And if your parents fell for that trap and then they teach you that trap or that crap, and then you buy it when you're 2 or 3 because you listen, even though when you're little, you almost have no choice but to listen. It was still you who listened. It was still you who brought that in. It was still you who fell for those actors, who fell for the Hollywood, who fell for the spells. So you have to dispel, what you took in. And that is why Cambell and I have said many times, it's your responsibility and it's your fault, simply because it has to be. If you're projecting your life, no one else is projecting your life. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just what is. So if you stop and look around and see something in your life that is horrible for you or fantastic for you, it's your responsibility. And from there, you can figure out how to change that in any way you need to by deciding what's real for yourself now. Not what somebody told you, not what a teacher told you, and even not what your parents or grandparents told you, but what you need to figure out for yourself by becoming a strong being and seeing how you can be better by your own hands, choice, intent, wisdom, imagination, and all the other lovely things that we get gifted with when we're born.
And of course, responsibility is the ability to respond. If we keep responding the same way, then we're going to keep getting the same things. If we want something different, this is why freedom is not free. If you want to be free, you have to respond in a different way. Stop reacting and start acting, as far as doing the act, right? Not being someone on a stage. But then again, we're all someone on a stage. But I mean, you find this all through, like the spells are just everywhere, right? Like that's why you don't go to a doctor. Because what's a doctor? When you doctor something, you falsify it, and they're all just practicing anyway, right? So this is the thing. Like, if we accept what the outside world gives us and tells us about reality, right? Then we're caught in their film, in their movie, in their reel. But if we can, take that inside of us, the tourist, right? Take what we experience outside, bring it in, run it through our own filters and get our own perspective, then we can put something different out in the world. And rather than going through this loop, which Lorenzo mentioned earlier, is, if you don't learn a lesson, the universe tends to keep sending it to you. And we see people just get stuck in the loop. And I mean, it's not really a loop. It's more of a spiral down, right? Because each time they're getting, more angry, more frustrated, more annoyed because the lesson keeps coming back. And the reason it does that is because they haven't learned the lesson. There's a saying that says, when the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, wants to teach you something, it'll tap you on the shoulder. And if you ignore that, it'll smack you over the head. And if you ignore that, you'll walk out in the street and a Mack truck will come and slam you down, because you will learn the lesson, right? Because why else are we here but to grow, but to broaden our awareness? And if we refuse to learn a lesson, which is less on, right? A lesson is to lessen, to get less on our mind, to get less on, the mud that's been thrown at us, right? The statue is not finished when there's nothing more to add. The statue is finished when there's nothing more to take away, right? Life, as adults that's what it is. It's a journey of getting rid of the crap, all the crap that's been thrown on us, right? As we're growing up and as we're children. And like Lorenzo said, a lot of the time, when we're children, we don't, have the cognitive ability to really understand what's going on. So we do take on a lot of crap. But as we grow older, you know, we have the ability to understand that that is crap. And that's why we need to change and get rid of that if we want to be free. And that comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of admitting you're wrong is really the biggest cost. And a lot of people don't want to go there. But again, to me, being wrong is awesome because it means you've learned something. It means you've grown, you've gone forward.
Yeah, I don't think, it's sad that kids are on tablets, Unapologetic American, or books are better. I've read some books that aren't better. Believe me, over the last couple of months, I've read some books. I've literally ordered some books that I thought were going to be good books and thrown them in the garbage, 2 minutes later when, they've turned into something I didn't want to put in my consciousness. And some of the best stuff I've seen in my life have come, let's say, on tablets or the computer information. And some of the worst has come from there too. Same with books. Same with TV, same with comics. Some of the best stories I've read in my life have been from comic books or manga, and some of the worst have come from comics or manga. Same with people. Some of the best experiences are from people, some of the worst. So I don't think you can point your finger at one source and say this is the origin of my woes. The origin of your woes is you. You're the origin of your woes, the same as you're the origin of your fantastic growth and things like that. It's all, it's all. Why am I here? Why did I choose this life? Why am I breathing? Cambell and I have talked about this before too. We both feel we choose our parents. I feel we choose our parents to absorb their problems at first, so you don't play. Because if you can't change something unless it's become real for you, right? You can't change what you don't know. Like I can't change the recipe of African cuisine because I don't know African cuisine. I mean, that's just a crazy example, but that's what I mean. I would have to understand it deeply before I can better it or change it. So it's the same, I think, with why we've come here. We have to understand a bend or a distortion or a problem or something that's not loving, because I still feel strongly we're all loving beings. Even the narcissists are probably loving that it's just taken the wrong path. And we all want to make the world a better place. I have a strong feeling that everyone's kind of like that in their hearts. Everyone's got a good heart. But what does that mean to make the world a better place? You have to see how it's not, let's say, the toroid field, the upside down, the shadow, how it's not a better place. So we choose our horrible experiences, in my opinion. We choose our horrible parents, if that's what you think you've had, or how they've been horrible, so that we can bring that into ourselves, so that you can either, replay it, which is the problem, or you can transform it, which is the solution.
Yeah, I mean, because what we don't learn, and get over from our parents, we pass on to the next generation. And it comes back to people, right? What you don't like in someone else is what you don't like in yourself. So what is it you don't like about your parents? If you've got an issue with your parents, I guarantee it's probably something that you don't like about yourself. And sure, you could argue that they gave you that trait or that information or that, point of view, but that's really not even part of the question, because the truth is you can change that. And this is what it is. And as far as, I've had such a hard life, why are some people born in, war-ridden countries? Why are some people born, in all these bad situations? Well, I agree too that it's because there's lessons to be learned. And it's all depends on if we want to learn the lesson or not. And ultimately it comes down to, is this world a good place that's for you, or is it an evil place that's against you? Because this is the core belief that this is what spawns all our belief systems. And you hear a lot of talk about this is a prison planet. Oh my God, we're all slaves. Well, okay, if you agree to it, then you are, because you're playing along with that game, with that movie that's not real, right? That's not. It's just a reel, REEL to REAL, right? So if you want to believe that, then that's what you're going to create. Because we have this thing in our brain called the reticular activating system. And this is the part of our brain that, when you want a new car, just say you want a yellow Hyundai. Don't know why anyone will want one, but just say you want a yellow Hyundai and you go for a drive and suddenly there's yellow Hyundais everywhere. Oh my God, look, they're everywhere. Does that mean that there's suddenly many, many more yellow Hyundais? Of course not. It just means that your mind is pointing them out to you because that's what you're focused on. It's just like walking down the street. You know, you can have two people walk down the same street and one of them is, oh my God, people are so horrible. They're so terrible. And their mind will point out to them all the angry people, all the people, you know, with glum faces. The other person is thinking, oh my God, life's beautiful. There's so many amazing people. And their mind will point out to them all the happy, smiling people. It's the same street. Okay. So we literally see what we want to see. We believe what we want to believe. And that creates, you know, what we project as our reality. So it's all us. You know, and as far as projecting reality, right? Change the real to make things more real.
You know, and Cooling Finn, you know, wish I knew more about that soul contract when I was 3. You did. You knew everything about that soul contract when you were 3. And if you can't recall it now, that could be the exercise you decide to delve into to recall the soul contract when you were 3. I've done a full recapitulation of my life many times, 3, 4, 5 times. Even a couple of days ago, I was going deep into some of the things that I put in my body that I had to get out. I mean, if you eat bad food, let's say, you know, everyone knows that wonderful feeling of taking a crap in the morning when they've had too much of something the night before. Well, imagine taking energetic craps, things that you've been holding and constipated with since you were 3 when you're 53. Ideas and anger and jealousies and envy and all those horrible feelings we've all experienced, you know, especially when we're little and we don't know better, as Campbell said, before we've had a chance to become better at discerning our lives. And you put them in there. And I think that's why people get funny bodies when they get older. It's not that you get old or you get sick. I think we're holding weird, energetic traps and twists and turns because energy is first and physical is second, I have found. And I still believe that that's true for everybody, but that's up to you to figure out. And so if you're holding an energetic twist, of course, your body's going to have a pain or a twist or something. If you're holding an energetic anger and you haven't pooped it out yet, of course, you're going to be constipated in your life. So that's what I mean when I said, what do you give up to change? I mean, if you've had kids, if you're in a relationship, if you have a job, you may have to give up some of the hardest things in your life. You may have to give up the idea maybe you were a good mother when your kids were 5 if you gave them bad food and somehow you were not so nice at the time. You may have to give up a relationship if you chose a relationship for the wrong reasons and you want to change your life. You know, all of these things, and no one said it's easy because this could be the hardest thing in your life, but freedom is not free. The high cost of change is giving up what is not working for you in relation to what you want to change. And usually, as Campbell said, you have to take stuff off the statue. That's why it's not ready. So what do you have to take off? You know, what do you have to carve away to get back to your true self? What have you put on even when you were 1 day old? Maybe you put something off or on that you have to carve off now that you're 101 years and 1 day old. You can do it. It's possible.
You can. And I like this by Angela. Overgrow the government. You don't need to overthrow them, because overthrowing them is putting your focus on, oh my God, they're so horrible. They're so mean. I'm such a slave. They control me so much. No, focus on what you want. Be better than them. Overgrow them. That's awesome. I really like that, Angela. And, you know, we've all heard these, and I hear people saying these sayings all the time, right? Where attention goes, energy flows, right? Like, yes, but I mean, how often do we put that into practice? Because just repeating things out into the world without taking them back in and understanding and getting a proper perspective of what they mean, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't hold much, right? It doesn't change much. We just become repeaters, which is what we get on the TV, right? These days, we don't get reporters anymore. We get repeaters. You know, we used to have journalists, and that was someone who had a journal, right? A journal, a book, and they would walk around and they would write down different stories and different perspectives, and you could get 10 different newspapers and they'd all have different stories. But there's no more journalists, right? Because the reel is all the same now. The story is all the same. The spell's all the same. It's a broadcast, right? So this is why perspective is so important, and it's got to be your perspective. It's got to be your point of view, right? Point of view. Just think about that saying. Point of view. It's clearly you standing in a different place to everyone else, seeing everything different. And that's what you're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to all have a different point of view so that we can all add something extra to this experience that we're all having together. If everyone's the same, you just get grey, right? You just get grey. Like there's nothing to it. We all need our own point of view because that's where we are anyway. You can't actually change that. And your point of view is valid. Everyone's point of view is valid, even if you don't agree with it. In fact, it's probably more valid to you if you don't agree with it than if you do, because then you can learn something. Like, I mean, it doesn't help anyone standing around in a group, circle, and we all agree on this. We all agree on this. Yay, we're all the same. Who does that help? Who's going forward? Who's getting better perspectives? Who's broadening their horizons, right? Broaden your horizons, right? See further. Have a bigger spectrum of view. This is all in our language, but of course, the things that are there that actually mean something, they tell us are insignificant. And the things that are insignificant, they tell us are important, right? As you know, a lot of people say everything's inverted. I mean, I would say everything is twisted around, but we can untwist it, right? Like we need to remember ourselves, remember who we are, remember to put back together, right?
I like what Campbell said about a bigger view too. So if you want to increase your view, a lot of people forget to look behind themselves because that's half your view. Like because people go, oh, I want more money, or I want a better relationship, or I want light, I want love, I want health, I want free days, I want to laugh and sing and dance. But it's the shadows. That's why I think this whole new age is BS, and I think a lot of what gets pushed, in the nice movies and the happy endings and the happy ever after and all the Walt Disney crap and all that is that there's a lot of garbage because your shadows can inform you more than your light. I found, if everyone would sit down and write down 6 ways they don't like themselves, or 6 ways they were horrible to other people, or if you've been good to other people, 6 ways you've been horrible to yourself, that's 18 things you could look at. I can pretty much guarantee if you write down those 18 points, and they're not so easy to do, and you look at them honestly, sitting alone, allowing yourself to feel how you were bad to this person when you were 5, how you made a bad choice for a relationship, how you made a bad choice for a child, how you made a bad choice for yourself. And this is you deciding you made the bad choice, by the way, by seeing the outcome. Let's say you had some kids and they didn't turn out well, or you were in a relationship and it didn't turn out well, or you tried a job and it didn't turn out well, or you tried a certain diet and it didn't turn out well. Whatever didn't turn out well by how you feel things should be, then you point responsibility back to yourself. Whatever it is, like do the hard thing. Make the hard choice of understanding how you were potentially wrong, even if you weren't. And from there, you can see, because you're increasing your view, you're increasing your environment, you're increasing your perspective. By what most people miss is you don't look at the shadows behind you that are following you because it's uncomfortable, because it feels bad, because you have to accept how you've been, not so nice, not so good, not so loving, whatever way you want to put it. And boy, are those experiences the best you could possibly have, because when you pay with those, and that's what I feel you've got to pay with to find your real self, man, that change comes fast, furious, and the tears and the happiness flow pretty wonderfully.
Yeah, if you're driving your car and you forget to check the rear view mirror, right, what's behind you, you might just get rear-ended. There's a reason that we have a rear vision mirror in a car, right? It's because you do have to check what's coming up behind you. And, like Lorenzo said, right, like what is it? How have you been the asshole? Like, it's very, very easy to point the finger and say, oh, it's their fault. He was an asshole. She was an asshole. They're wrong. That's bad. But that doesn't do anything to change us. All that is doing is reinforcing the perspectives we've already got, which means it's just keeping you the same. That's it. Everyone wants something different, but they all want to be the same. It's very interesting, right? And this is the real cost. This is why being free is not free, because you have to look at yourself, warts and all, as they say, right? Like, who are we really? Because no one's perfect. We've all been bad people. We've all made bad decisions. We've all acted like fools. Of course we have. Of course. I mean, if you, and this is, you know, if you talk to someone and they're like, no, I'm perfect, I've never made a mistake, I've never been foolish, you're going to think, that guy's a bloody idiot. Like, what's wrong with him? But how often do we do that to ourselves? How often do we you know, admit it was us, it was our problem? Because, you know, we've said it before and I'll say it again, guys, it's all your fault. Everything. It's all your fault because you're the creator. And, you know, if it's not your fault, then you can't change anything. You're a victim, you're a slave, you're in a prison planet, whatever, right? If it's not your fault, you have to go out and change every single person on the realm, right? You have to go and change them all to change your life. If it's your fault, you just have to find a mirror. You just have to go inside for a bit, do a bit of introspection, and you can change your whole world. That's easy, it's doable. But changing the world is not. You know, we can influence the outside world, but we can't change it. You know, and the best way to influence it is what? Be more of who you really are. Be more of yourself. Put more of your true self out into the world and be an example for people, because people learn by watching how people act. This is how children and babies, that's how they learn like 95% or more up in their first 5 years. It's by watching, it's not by listening. And this is another thing I'll just mention is you got, you know, two ears and one mouth. Use them in that proportion. And what are eyes for? I remember when I was on a course, you know, gosh, I was about 16 or something. And the guy was telling me he had like a small child at the time. And he asked his daughter, he said, what are eyes for? And she guessed, you know, most people would say eyes are for looking. No, eyes are for seeing. But how often do we just look and we don't see, right? Same with ears. Are ears for hearing or are they for listening? Because this is the truth. If we don't listen, we don't learn. If we don't see, we can't learn, right? If we're just looking and hearing, well, great. What does that mean? You're just taking in minutia, right? So we need to use our senses properly. You know, this is the thing. So everything, this is why everything, you know, like pondering and introspection and wondering and questioning ourselves rather than the outside world makes such a difference to how we wander through our journey down here in the realm and to what we project, which is what we interact with.
I mean, look at someone who hasn't learned their lessons. You know, Cambell mentioned, you know, talk to someone who's never wrong and see how their life has gone. You know, I can talk about my mother who was never ever wrong. It was always someone else's fault. You know, lately, you know, unfortunately or maybe fortunately, she's, you know, paralyzed in a wheelchair and can't talk anymore. She was always angry, always upset, always pointing the finger, always thinking someone else was wrong. Never, ever, ever, ever for a second admitting she was wrong about anything, ever. And she never got any lesson. And then the ultimate lesson hits you eventually. And people will say that's horrible and that's not so, you know, wonderful. And it's not. But, you know, I look back at my mother and said, why did I choose this lady? Right? Why did I decide that, you know, she was going to be the one who, you know, bore me, so to speak? And then I picked up from that experience because I was like her, never admitting I was wrong. And I saw the outcome in that. Oh, my goodness. Eventually, you know, you explode with anger or with bitterness or with regret or all the other things that come with never admitting you're wrong. And it wasn't pretty. I mean, if I'm going to buy some bad food, I'll see the people lined up at the counter and I'll check out their bodies and I'll go, oh, I don't want that, you know, so I won't go in there. Or I'll see someone that's going, you know, coming out of the alcohol store, you know, stumbling or looking too drunk or having that look in their eye. And I go, oh, I don't want that. And we get those reflections, as Cambell said, you know, if you see something you don't like or you see something you do like, and then you connect yourself to their life by seeing how you're being the same or different. And then you can, through some osmosis, let's say, pick up some experience that can help you see what you need to give up to become your real self, what you need to change. And this is all in relation to what you want to do or not.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. Russian person. Hello. What about the elephant in the room? Blah, 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 all this stuff. Well, I would ask, is that your room or is that someone else's room? Maybe you're sitting or you're trying to be in the wrong room, because I hear this all the time. But what about the children who are dying here? What about the war here? What about the starving people? What about this? That's not your story. That's the real, the REEL. It's not REAL to you. That's someone else's lesson. It's not for you to learn, guys. This is focusing on the outside world and looking for problems, right? And looking for excuses why we don't have to look inside, right? Because it's such a terrible world. What can I do? Look at all the stuff going on. You can change yourself and you can be the example for someone else, even if it's just one person that watches you and changes themselves because of the way that you are acting and holding yourselves. You've just changed the world. It's that simple. All right. You don't need to go out and collapse a government or destroy the monetary system or anything like that to change the world. You just need to be more of who you already are, and then walk in that power. Sorry,
you don't even know if any of that's real. No, you don't even know if any of that's real anyway. Somebody said somebody died. Somebody said someone was assassinated. I see what you mean, Angela, baby Carson, keeping people in fear, but I think you keep yourself in fear. You go, oh my goodness, look at that, isn't that horrible? I'm afraid, right? Oh my goodness, what happened to P. Diddy and Mr. Smith and and Billy the Bad Guy and you don't know any, like, they make movies, they make commercials, they trick you with cameras, they trick you with reels, they trick you with light. So I bet you none of that you could even prove is true. You could just say someone told you, maybe 100 people told you, or it's all I've seen that video where the news stations all across the United States all share the exact same news at the exact same time. Like 500 people are word for word playing off the script. So you go, I heard that 500 times. Doesn't mean it's real. It just means 100%. You heard it 500 times. That's it. Doesn't mean anything unless you're in the room and you see that body on the floor and you put your hand on its neck and it's not breathing anymore. Then you could tell me somebody killed Pete Diddy and for sure. Other than that, it's all hearsay and hubbub, probably.
Told a story. I mean, and I actually watched a video the other night talking about how they started the fighting in that country that's not the I country, if you know what I mean. And that was everything they did. They told these horrible, horrible stories, and everyone got emotionally attached. And oh my God, that's disgusting. Let's go in and unlive them all. And that's how they started it. And then it was proven that it was all crap. None of it existed. None of it happened. It was all made up. So exactly, if it's not in your experience, it's not for you. How can we prove this stuff? How can we prove that, even back in the 80s, right? How could we prove that there was famines all throughout Africa, right? I mean, it's interesting that apparently in the 80s, everyone was dying of starvation in Africa, but Africa's population kept growing. Interesting that, isn't it? Right? Don't believe the real, believe what's real. And this is kind of the point. Freedom is not free. They tell you that it's all about being free and freeing other people. And oh my God, you got to make a better world. You got to make a better inner world. And then you will change the outer world and make it better.
I met a guy here.
Sorry, you go.
Sorry, no. I met a guy here from the Ukraine, just as an example of that. And we hear all kinds of stories about all kinds of wars, about all kinds of problems. And I asked him, and he said his parents are still living there. And I go, must be horrible. This was 4 or 5 years ago. Must be this. He goes, no, my mother goes to the beach every day. She's relaxing on the sands. And so I have no idea what's going on, right? I mean, maybe there are some people that are having one kind of experience. Maybe there are some other people having another kind of experience. I mean, when I went to Turkey 30 years ago and there were supposedly problems with Iran or Iraq, and my mother freaked out saying, don't go, there's a war here. There's all kinds of horrible things are going to get killed in the streets. And well, I was on the beach and I was eating seafood and I was, swimming, and I was going to some old, Tartarian sites that I didn't know were Tartarian at the time. And I had a wonderful time. I almost went to move there, because my experience was not what the TV was telling people. The experience was for people living in a certain country or a certain way or a certain time. So again, unless you're there, you don't know. You can't say, and you're just passing along someone else's idea of what's true and what's not true. And being a repeater, oh my goodness, I would say that's the worst crime in the world. And it's probably the crime your parents passed along to you if people are upset about something, is just being a repeater without living the experience. And to me, that is probably the worst thing anybody can do in their life, is say something's true without having figured it out, or not, without having figured it out literally for themselves.
Mm. And we're not saying that bad things don't happen. I mean, I've had very bad things happen to me. I'm sure everyone has. And there's evidence, of wars happening. But I mean, unless you're there, it's not for you. And again, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Russian person. They're doing this to us, they're doing that to us, they're doing this to us. Sure, if you believe it. If you believe it, you can take that on.
Oh, it's Greek.
You can take it on, right? And you can let it affect you and your inner world and how you walk your path. Of course, because you have choice. But is it helping you? Probably not. Right. And this is, and I think who was it? Someone said it. When I was younger, the Armenians were the bad guy. And it is, right. Then it was the Russians. Then it was the Middle East, and it always changes. Has anyone ever read the book 1984? Because that is literally the theme of the book. There's always this invisible enemy that no one ever sees. They're always there. They're always coming to invade you and to take your life away and to be very nasty. But they never seem to turn up. It's propaganda, guys. It's just that simple. It's a story that's projected to you via the real, but it's not real. So, everything, you have choice, and you can choose to believe that you're a slave and the government's evil and they're holding you down and it's a prison planet and, oh my God, we just need to escape the matrix. You can believe that. But I mean, I like to focus on results, which I find most people don't actually look at. Like, what's the result of what you're doing? Is that making your life better? Is that making other people's lives better? Is that changing for the good? Like focusing that you're a slave? How can you change things if you're a slave? A slave means is someone who's chained up and is told what to do. So if you want to give your power away to the people that you say that you don't want controlling you and that you don't want controlling this realm, you can. But I mean, that doesn't make sense, right? There's a bit of a juxtaposition going on there.
I mean, let's talk about our course a little bit, Cambell.
Yes.
We're coming up to an hour.
Your real self.
We're starting November 24th for us, November 23rd for North Americans. 10 weeks of exploration. We can all look at our imagination, our intuition, our ideas, our recapitulation, ourselves, what works, the inner and outer, the toroid field. We're limiting it to 20 people so that we can really get into the nitty-gritty with some of the other people, with ourselves. There's a link below. Cambell left it there. There's more information. There's an email that's included. You can contact me or Cambell or leave a message. We're happy to explain more if there's other bits and pieces that you're willing to or wish to understand that you haven't. And what do you wish to add there, Cambell?
Yes, you'll find the link below. So I was just reading a couple of the comments. This is literally what we've been talking about for this whole show. It is the answers are inside you, but you need to go inside and uncover them. So what we want to do is just have discussions, and this is not going to be Lorenzo and I, telling you what to do and how to be a better person because we've got the answers, because we don't. We've got some answers for ourselves, but we don't have the answers for you. They're inside of you. But what we can give you is some of our life experiences, right? Some of the things that we've been through, some of the things that we've learned, and we've got a perspective on. And it's going to be interactive. So everyone is going to be able to share their stories and their experiences. And through that, we'll all be able to help each other dig deeper, get better realizations, get better points of view, and ultimately project a better, image from our reel on our head, right? Project a better world for us to interact with. So we would love you to join us. We're going to be doing, it's over 10 weeks, 10 basically a Zoom call a week, which is going to go, around sort of 60 to 90 minutes. There'll be question time, like I said. There'll be an email address so that, if you've got questions and they don't come to you during the Zoom, you can definitely ask them. We can bring them up. But it's going to be a group effort, a collective where we can all help each other learn and we can all teach each other. And we would love for you to join us. But there are only 20 spots, guys. Obviously, we can't do this with 100 people. So it's the first 20 people only. And you'll find the link below in the description.
Yep, and then we'll record it just for the people that are there. There'll be private recordings, so you can watch it again if you wish to. Again, it'll be private just for the people that are participating. And I would be delighted to get more perspectives, other people's ideas, and that's why we're opening it up to the class, so to speak, because Cambell's ideas and my ideas are just that. So we would be delighted to see how many of us could come together and help each other to become real, to become better, because the more of us that do, the better life we get to have. Make more masters, as they say. A master is not someone who has followers, but a master is someone who helps make the most masters. So, come master yourself with us, as I've learned to master myself more or less, and I'd be delighted to learn from you as you learn from us, as we learn from each other, and see where that can take us. Because won't that be wonderful?
Well, and this is the thing, guys. Lorenzo and I learn as much, if not more, from these chats as you guys. And it's definitely not about us trying to say we've got the answers, we're gurus, listen to us, because we don't believe in gurus. Be your own guru. Find the guru inside. But, like I said, we learn probably more than anyone else when we talk about these concepts. So please come and join us. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you've tried things and it's just not happening, if you want to, bring out more of yourself, if you want to find more love inside yourself so you can find more love outside yourself, then this is what it's all about. So again, the link is below in the description. Just click it. There'll be a bit of a description about what it's all about. Just click the button down below. You can join up, and then you'll be on our email list as well. So we'll send you emails letting you know when all the Zoom's coming up, all the information you need to know. And again, we would love to have just 20 of you join us, and let's grow together, right?
All right. Beautiful.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you got something out of that. We certainly did. Please give us a like, leave a comment. And most importantly, if you enjoyed this and you think that it could help other people, please do share it around. And we will be back next Sunday for another chat. So have an awesome weekend. Talk to you on the next upload. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone, for being